Thank you so much for coming. And I love the analogy that we just got about how boring it is to look at normal stuff at the airport. That kind of reminds me of my job as toxicologic pathologist, because 90% of what I look at is boring, and I do sometimes find it therapeutic. I listen to podcasts.
Learn about the newest digital pathology trends in science and industry, meet the most interesting people in the niche, and gain insights relevant to your own projects. Here is where pathology meets computer science. You are listening to the Digital Pathology Podcast with your host, Dr. Aleksandra Zuraw.
But today I want to talk to you about something that unlocks digital pathology, AI, and all these technologies that we now learn about or have access to. And it's not what you think. Because how many of you thought, well, I don't have a scanner, so what's my point? What's the point of learning about digital pathology? I don't have access to AI tool. What's the point of doing this? Like, anybody thought that ever? That was me at some point, and today I'm gonna change that belief. So we often think I need so much before I can start, but this is a myth, actually, because the deep barrier is not the infrastructure. It's the hesitation of people. And those of you who are here, who maybe are like at the beginning of the digital pathology journey, and I recognize that we are all at different station of the digital pathology journey. And it's not my analogy, it's Dr. Anil Parwani's this train ride of digital pathology.
I can look at images of which are diagnostic quality, and I feel confident in my diagnosis as a pathologist.
Everybody is at a different station. And some of us are at the very beginning. And we are all motivated. You are motivated. You're not skeptical, but I hear from my people that send me emails that they are paralyzed because they don't know where to start. They're asking, do you have any projects for me? They are waiting for permission. They're waiting for like somebody to take their hand and put them in the digital pathology universe, digital pathology ecosystem. And they're waiting for resources. They're waiting for clarity. That was me in 2013. This is me over 10 years ago, younger and a lot more naive. And I was training to become a board-certified veterinary pathologist in Germany, in Berlin. And that institution had one scanner, and my impression was that digital pathology was just for the elites, for the chosen. Why did I think that? Because there was this one scanner, it was one 6-slide Leica scanner that was only used for special occasions. And by special occasions, I mean maybe some mystery cases, some conference scanning, and there was only one person, one very special person, PhD researcher, who was already like 4 years ahead of me, that was allowed to work with the scanner. So to me, coming from Poland, just starting, being like at the very beginning of my pathology, not even like digital pathology journey, I was like, this is for the elites, this is for the tech-savvy people, like not really for me. Anybody had these thoughts before? I see a few hands up. Until I had a research project. One research project where I had to stain skin samples. It was a senescence project. So I had to find some senescence marker for, I don't know, fibroblasts, I don't know which cells in the skin. But basically, I had to quantify the senescence, like how old these samples were from archive. And I needed to be consistent. And when I looked at these slides, I'm like, there is no way I can consistently go back to these slides and estimate that one has more and the other has less. So it was totally a guesstimation. And I had no scanner access, right? Scanner was for the elites. So I had this project, right? I look at these at the IHC and I'm like, it's not possible for me to consistently evaluate it. And scanner was not an option, right? But microscope camera was an option. So I took digital images of these samples. I just figured out what was my criteria, how far away from wherever. I basically described it to have some kind of consistency. And then I did these pictures and I opened them in Microsoft Paint. And I just with a mouse was crossing the ones that I wanted to count. And yeah, I was putting colorful dots. I didn't even open it in a image scope that has an automated counter. I was just like drawing it and later counting it. But I could show these pictures to somebody. I could ask them, hey, am I counting the right ones? And like they could see that I actually was counting the ones that I was counting. So it seems very scrappy, very manual, very like DIY version of digital pathology. But the key thing here was that it was consistent, that I had data that I could show somebody and somebody could verify, okay, is this good data or is this bad data? You're maybe counting the good ones or the bad ones. If that was visual, it wouldn't be possible. And that kind of shaped one belief that I have, that every time I hear about different pathology scorings that are very much visual guesstimation, I get triggered because I would rather calculate every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I would like do these dots if necessary rather than guesstimate. If you can measure, and now with digital pathology you can, then let's do it. And this scrappy project led me to my first digital pathology job. My first job after this residency was at an image analysis company. This company is now part of a pharma company, AstraZeneca. And I went there to this interview. They were asking me about all different kinds of immune oncology markers that I had no idea about. I think I could maybe mention CD3 and CD8, and two components to getting this job. One was this one project where I said, well, I decided that for this project, I had to have something digital quantifiable. And you guys have the software and you have the power to basically unlock a lot of quantification for tissue. And the second part was he looked at the list of languages that I speak, and it was like 5 at the time or 6. And he said, oh, you speak 6 languages? You can learn anything. So these two components got me the job. I'd like to believe that my experience in digital pathology was the main driver, and then I started working. This door opened when I took the first step. So I wouldn't, without doing this project in Microsoft Paint, I wouldn't be even able to talk about the value of quantification to a company that was doing quantification. I probably would have no idea what they were doing and like what is the value in what they're doing. So I went there. It was pretty nice feeling to get straight out of a residency and go to an environment of non-pathologists where you are suddenly the expert on tissue. It feels pretty well. Anybody who just finished residency or is in residency can relate to that, or in any type of training where you're just like barely finished. There's so many of people who are a lot more experienced, and then you change environment, you suddenly have some magic knowledge that people don't have. So that was my magic knowledge, the knowledge about tissue. And I was supposed to work with image analysis scientists who knew the tech, who were able to detect plenty of different things in the tissue. And my job was to make sure that what they are detecting actually matches the tissue. It wasn't always the case, and it took me some time to acquire the knowledge. Okay, how do I communicate with them? What does the software actually do? They knew everything about computer vision, and I was teaching them tissue. So at some point, we had enough common understanding of each other's expertise that me knowing the tissue and them knowing the tech was not just 1 + 1 is 2, but it was exponential unlocking of whatever were the questions of our customers, and that was pharmaceutical industry. They wanted to do biomarker quantification, patient stratification, different signature discovery. So this helped us get a lot more out of this than me doing my dots and them trying to do image analysis on something that they didn't really know what it was before. And that brings me to the point that knowledge is key. Knowledge unlocks the power of technology. Not everybody is going to ever have the access to the same level of technology, but technology exists. Scanners are getting cheaper, hopefully. and technology is getting cheaper. I know the chips, the NVIDIA chips are getting cheaper every year. So let's hope it translates to other tech as well. So this tech is out there. And the bottleneck is actually people who understand like how this all works. My example was from image analysis, from computer vision. I had to understand enough of computer vision to be able to guide people who do that at a really high level. They had to understand enough tissue. But the same counts for scanners, for different types of AI, for image management system, for you name it, anything in digital pathology. So people who understand is what we need. This unlocks the power of technology. But I am just one story, and you can, say, hey, you're not like, I got introduced as the celebrity, which is very nice. But like, you may have the impression, okay, you're the celebrity, you've been doing this for 10 years, you are in Europe, you are privileged. And that is right. I was lucky. I am still lucky to be able to be working in this space. But I want to tell you about a different digital pathology trailblazers. Somebody who had it like not as fantastic as me, which I didn't think I had it so fantastic at the beginning. Let's go to Pakistan. Anybody from Pakistan? So Pakistan, feel free to correct me if I'm like saying anything about your country. But we have 220 million people there, and according to the person I'm going to be citing, it is around 500 pathologists there and exactly 0 scanners. Maybe now you have a scanner. So just to give you some context, I'm from Poland. We also have 500 pathologists, but we only have 38 million people in the country. So until I learned about this situation, I thought, oh my goodness, only 500 in Poland. I'm like, 500 in Poland is a lot compared to Pakistan. And the trailblazer I want to talk to you about is Dr. Taladzer. She started with these constraints. And I had the honor to interview her on my podcast last year or 2 years ago. So yeah, 0 scanners, microscope camera only. And she inspired me because she started learning anyway. So her story with digital pathology started during COVID when everything was shut down. And she decided, okay, let me figure out this digital pathology thing. And she didn't have anything digital pathology. She had glass slides and microscope and a camera. She joined the Digital Pathology Association and started learning. And they have fantastic resources. She just started learning about it. And then she was reading papers, research on digital pathology. And then she conducted a survey in Pakistan about the awareness of digital pathology. So she didn't even touch any digital pathology tools, and she started doing work in the digital pathology space. So no infrastructure, and she just started with knowledge. And then she wanted to do some more, right? AI is so cool. I like AI as well. So she started reaching out to vendors, and everybody said no, especially because most of the models that are being created are on whole slide images. When somebody hears that, oh, you don't even have a single whole slide image, then obviously it's easier. They say no because it's not really applicable. So it was a rejection after rejection after rejection, but she was pretty determined. I encourage you to listen to that episode. And she persisted. She kept asking. And then one company said yes, Aphoria, and they have a booth in our exhibit hall, so whoever is interested in this and what they have can visit. Kudos to them for saying yes to Dr. Taladzer. And she got the access to the platform. Granted, this is, if you don't know what this platform is, it's a kind of do-it-yourself image analysis software where you can train a model with your annotations. So if you have the tissue expertise as a pathologist, you can start basically building your models without too much further knowledge. And she said herself that she was learning from zero. She had zero idea how to annotate. She didn't know what these epochs are for training, nothing. And you know who helped her? Customer success representative from Aphoria. And then in just 1.5 months that she had access to this software, she completed 3 projects, and she published on these projects. Then she changed her career from whatever her previous track was to digital pathology, computational pathology. As of now, this is Google Scholar from a couple of days ago, it's definitely over 10 publications. And most of these publications are on static images. They're not on whole slide images. Different models, different options on how to do digital pathology. And she's pretty creative, I have to say, when I looked at what all you can do with static images. So no need to be disheartened if you don't have a scanner. No need to be disheartened if you don't have access to AI. There are ways around it. And what our stories show is that you start with knowledge. You start with figuring out what that is. How can you leverage it? How can you leverage it for where you are? Because then technology follows, or you follow somewhere that technology. This is the pattern of transformation. And now we're here. Everybody is here to learn, to network. This conference is a little bit like a company Christmas party where they fly you to a place, like a company that has multiple locations. They fly you to a cool place. You have not seen your colleagues from other sites for a long time, and it's so much fun, and you're going to do so much because you're so motivated. And it's exciting, energizing. And what happens after? Well, we go back to normal life, the energy drops, we have to read slides if you're a pathologist, manage projects, and basically do whatever is expected of you to keep earning money. So this kind of fades. So we can do two things. The first path, I call it the forgetting loop. You came here, you learned, you forgot. And next year, you maybe are going to come again because you are still interested in this topic. It's a fascinating topic. That's why we paid money to be here. And next year, you're starting over. The loop repeats. We don't want to be there next year, right? We want to do something else. The alternative is that you come, you attend the conference, you learn, you absorb the insights, new insights, and then you commit. You commit to keeping learning beyond today. So in 1 year, you're not going to be starting from scratch. You're going to be asking sharper questions. You're going to know where to which vendor to go, which questions to ask. You're going to know exactly what could be leveraged in your institution, and you will be able to figure out your roadmap. I'm sorry to disappoint you that there is no one roadmap fits all, and every country, every institution, every geography is going to have their own way of doing digital pathology. But by committing to learning about it, you will know what your way is going to be. You're going to identify opportunities that were invisible before, and you're going to lead them. You may become the go-to person or the celebrity in your institution for digital pathology. You can lead projects, start pilots, and you are already starting here at the conference. I want to encourage you to start with a book that I published. This is a first step that you can take. You can scan the QR code, and a free copy is going to be available to you. And most of you who are already have seen me online or are getting emails from me probably have the book. But I'm just suggesting this as the first step, a step that I provided for you. But it doesn't have to be me. If you are annoyed by me touching my glasses or whatever, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just pick something else. Pick something and then keep going. You can just set up your PubMed alerts for AI and digital pathology, which is what I do. And some people join me at 6 a.m. every Friday to discuss abstracts from PubMed. Kudos to them. You are amazing. I have a few regulars that join me for DigiPath Digest Journal Club. And in another resource that I want to point you to is the 7-part series that was co-authored by Dr. Linon Pantanovic, who is here. We discussed that at the Journal Club. But it can be PubMed alerts. It can be webinars by a vendor. If you have a vendor, like Aphoria customer success representative helped Dr. Taladzer with understanding something that led to so many of her publications. And the vendors, I have to say, they have pretty good resources. So you can do that. You can do anything. You can read books, whatever. The only wrong choice is that you don't choose anything. The only wrong choice is to just go back to your normal stuff and not do anything, not do this consistent learning commitment. Because you choose your path. I would be honored if it's going to be what I put out there on the internet, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter. I strongly believe that knowledge advances digital pathology, and when you commit to learning about it in whichever shape or form, you commit to progress and you commit to advancing the field. And by that, because I believe that every patient has the right to fast diagnosis and that digital pathology is the gateway to fast diagnosis, you, by learning about digital pathology, whichever aspect you're now interested in, are committing to providing them a faster diagnosis and better treatment, because I believe that knowledge drives adoption. And you have everything you need to start today. Well, maybe you do need a microscope camera, but if you don't have one, just let me know. We'll figure out a way to get you one, and you can do it. You can start today wherever you are, either at the very beginning of the digital pathology train ride or wherever you are to get to the next station. Thank you so much for your attention.